Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Playhouse. If you grew up in the 80s, you know exactly who I'm doing an impression of. Ah. Oh, and that right there, that's more powerful than any leadership book on your shelf, and I can prove it. Ah. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here and joining us today on this lovely day in March as we launch it off. I'm excited to be a part of this with you. Thank you for joining me. Today, we're going to talk about the freedom of speech section, which is the promise of laughter. We'll do that first, and then we're going into the full story, the joke that changed everything. Then we'll roll into the from the news feed section, which is 4,000 people replaced, and the stock went up 22%. We'll then go into our faith and hope section, and that's the God who laughs. Then we'll talk Father Time, the dad on the train, and then the funny factory, where we'll talk about Punch the Monkey and the $20 stuffed animal that broke the internet all the way over in Japan. We'll wrap the whole segment up, this whole show up with Fitness Minute, the cold plunge lie, and what actually works, because as you may know, I'm a cold plunge guy. But I want to start off with, if we can, the freedom of speech. The promise of laughter is what we're going to talk to you today about. And I want to tell you about the worst keynote I almost gave. It was a corporate event, big room, big stakes. You know, I'm talking a ballroom full of executives, regional directors, sales leaders, people who'd flown in from all over the country. The kind of event where the AV crew is wearing headsets. Someone has already told you 3 times backstage, stay on message, stay on time. I was backstage pacing, going over my notes. I remember thinking, okay, be serious, Jason. These are serious people. They need a serious message. Well, that was almost the biggest mistake of my career, because here's what I didn't know yet. What I had to learn the hard way in front of audiences of thousands was that laughter isn't a distraction from the message. Laughter is the message. And when someone laughs, truly laughs, their guard comes down, their chest opens up, something shifts inside of them, right? They became, for just a moment, completely present. And a person who's present, that's a person who's ready to be changed. And so I did that voice as I began this whole show. Who is that voice? Do you know? I hope you can tell it's Pee Wee Herman. Hello, everybody. La, la, la. Yeah. After a while, I wasn't really supposed to do that on stages because of some challenges he had with his reputation and some part of his career. But here's what I love doing that voice, because it does take people back. It makes them laugh. It makes them think. And I've been thinking a lot lately about what we have been taught to believe about serious people. We've been conditioned in boardrooms, churches, and schools to think that gravitas equals credibility, that the person with the furrowed brow and the PowerPoint deck is more trustworthy than the person who can make a room erupt with laughter. Yeah, we've been told subtly, sometimes loudly, that laughter is the enemy of professionalism. Joy is a reward we get after you've done the hard work, that you can be funny or respected, but not both. And I'm here to tell you, that's a lie. Think about the teachers who change your life. Think about the mentors and the coaches, the parents, the leaders who actually moved you. I'll bet you anything. I've done this exercise with hundreds of audiences. The people who shaped you most could make you laugh and think. It's a both game. They weren't one or the other. They're both, because humor isn't just entertainment. Humor is connection. Humor is trust. Humor is the door that opens before the truth can walk in. Think about that teacher. I talk all the time about Mrs. Hall, who changed my life. She, with that Welsh accent, who's singing in the hall? Every time she spoke, she made us smile. And she would laugh at what we would do. We'd say, well, what about this? And she'd go, that was her laugh. So I'm so grateful that she taught me, because she made us laugh and then she made us think. So this show today is not about being funnier at parties. It's not a comedy workshop. It's not a bunch of dad jokes. Well, I mean, there might be a few because I'm here. Hey, But this episode is about something that I believe with everything in me, and that is joy is a leadership superpower. That the ability to laugh at yourself, at the absurdity of the world, at the gap between what we expected and what actually showed up, it's not a soft skill. It is the hardest, rarest, most human skill there is. Yeah, I want to take you on a journey today. We're going to talk about a viral dad on a train, a baby monkey with a stuffed orangutan, the god who laughed first, and a tech billionaire who just replaced 4,000 human beings with software and called it progress. And we're going to ask the most important question of the moment, which I think in a world that is automating everything it can be, what is the one thing that cannot be automated? What's the one thing that remains irreplaceably, stubbornly, gloriously human? I'll tell you right now, it's this moment right here. You here with me, alive, feeling something. Whether you're watching this live and you want to throw in the chat that you're here with me, put it in the chat. I could only imagine if you had kids they're like, hey, my kids are calling me chat. Hey, chat. That's the promise of laughter. Not that everything's funny. I mean, some things are not funny at all, but that joy is the evidence of something deeper. So let me know that you're here. And if you're listening to this on the replay on the podcast, hey, thank you for joining me in that space as well. But the joy is the evidence of something deeper today, something that machines can measure but never manufacture, something reminds us every single time it shows up, we're more than our productivity. We're more than our output. We are humans. Humans are built to laugh. So here's the bridge. The moment of laughter is when a person's defenses drop and their heart opens, making it the optimal moment for a message and a meaningful one to land. I have found that to be so absolutely right, because every chance that I get to make some story funny because it happened to me, as I share that leadership principle comes through, is the way to make a promise even better, especially if you're a leader. So I want you to think about who is the person in your life who shaped you most deeply. I mean, you can and they can make you laugh, right? What does that tell you about the connection between humor and influence? Where in your professional life have you put on this serious costume? Because I know I've done this to seem more credible. And what did it cost you in genuine connection? When I went from entertainer guy to speaker guy, I really did put aside a lot of the humor and the characters, the costumes, because I thought I had to be serious. It was only when I integrated them back in a reasonable way that made sense to the message landing that everything really started to work. So don't just put it off. No, lean into what you are, who you are. It's your signature move. And if laughter is the door before the truth walks in, what truths have you been keeping out by refusing to let yourself or the people around you laugh? As we wrap up this opening monologue and segment of freedom of speech, if you will, joy isn't a break from the message. Joy is the message.
Okay. We heard you loud and clear, Mr. Hewlett. And you know what? You were right.
We're dropping the perfection act. Authentic leadership demands the truth after all. So we retired the superhero costumes.
I really liked my flawless jawline, honestly. Pretending to be perfect is just exhausting, even for an AI guy. Great leaders lead with the truth. They drop the performance, and they let themselves look a little human. Jason, you said a joke changes everything. Take us into that ballroom. What happens when the mask finally comes off?
All right. Yeah, that's Doug and Phil. Guess what? We've been talking about them as our amazing AI creation characters that I wanted to put together as these almost perfect looking dudes that are aspirational. And the more feedback we've gotten from people, they're like, hey, we want them to look more like a real person. So we're continually adjusting all that we're using in terms of characters on this show, because those are AI generated people. That's how we're integrating AI with this. As you can also tell, as I'm speaking throughout this show, if you're watching this, we're going to be putting up images that actually matches what I'm talking about. And in the past, the only way to do that really was at a news station, as long as it was really choreographed and or in post edit, long after it's over. somebody would add it all in. I have a team around the world. They're incredible. And they're adding in things as I talk, images that support what I'm discussing at the same time. So this is a fun thing to be able to do with the AI piece. But let's talk about the full story. Let's talk about the joke that changed everything. Let me tell you about the day I made a room full of executives cry laughing and why it changed the way I think about everything. And now I've had moments like this in my career, but this one happened just last year. It was a major keynote, a major corporate keynote. You know how those go. I'm not going to name the name of the company but you'd recognize the name immediately. It was C-suite in the front row. Every single person in the room had a title with at least 4 words in it. The event planner had emailed me twice to remind me the audience was results focused and data driven. And I walked out on the stage, looked at all those serious folded arms. I dare you to entertain me faces. And something in me said, oh man, don't perform. Just tell the truth, but tell it sideways. And I did. So I started with a story instead of my normal thing that I knew would land, And I started a story about how badly I needed to go to the bathroom before coming to stage. And because they told me backstage, we just have a few committees to introduce and then you're on. It'll only take a minute. And so I told the real-time story of how I was sitting backstage as the keynote, suffering, needing badly to go to the restroom, but they wouldn't let me, as they would quickly be getting through the committee portion. Well, 15 minutes later, I'm struggling as they introduced me to the stage. So I made fun of myself. I walked out in front of all of these very important people, executives. I made fun of the amount of committees they were just talking about. I told them, I was like, wow, I really had to go to the bathroom. And I guess I told them that I needed to. It was going to take a minute. And then they told me I couldn't. And so I just explained the whole story. They said to just wait until we're done with the committees, then you'll go out and speak. I said, so my friends, I have to go to the bathroom really bad. And obviously I'm not a part of any of those committees. Maybe I should volunteer to be on a committee. Maybe I should start my own committee since everybody here is on 10 committees. And the more I did that, the more they started laughing. They were scream laughing, actually. It was a self-deprecating story about a failure of mine. I needed to go to the bathroom. So specific, so human that people started nodding back and forth and laughing and not a polite, like, haha. It was like, they're like hitting the arm of the person next to them, kind of stuff that makes the CFO forget for 10 beautiful seconds he has a board meeting on Tuesday. And then in the middle of the laugh, I landed the truth. I said something that mattered, something about the gap between who we're performing to be at work, who we actually are when we get home. And the laugh turned into something else, something quieter, something a few of them later described as, I didn't expect to feel that today, but thanks for taking us there. The standing ovation didn't come from my impressions. It didn't come from my performance. It came from the moment I stopped performing and just became real. Now, I'm not saying do potty humor on the stage. That's not what this was. It was just making fun of what was happening in the moment that they all recognized was funny. And I just need to point it out. And that's when I understood something that I've spent the rest of my career trying to articulate. Humor isn't a technique. It's not a tool you pick up and put down. It's a posture. It's a decision to be human in front of humans. When a leader does that, and when a leader drops the armor and tells the people through the back door of a laugh, hey, people don't just applaud, they follow. So here's what I figured out about the 3 kinds of humor that actually works in leadership. The first is self-deprecating humor. I've become very good at this. This is the most underused leadership tool in existence. When you laugh at yourself first, you give everyone else in the room permission to be imperfect. You signal that you're not fragile. I mean, it takes strength to talk about it. You signal that you don't need to be protected from reality, and that builds trust faster than any mission statement ever written. The second kind of humor is observational humor. And this is about a shared reality, just like all the committees that we should join. I mean, it was hilarious to me, and obviously they all liked it too. And when a leader points out something that everyone in the room is experiencing, but nobody said out loud, the absurdity of the amount of committees or the all hands meeting that could have been in an email, the gap between the company values on the wall and the way the last quarter actually went. Yeah, the goals versus promises concept. Yeah, we name it with a torch, with a light, and we allow something more remarkable to happen. People feel seen, like they're in the room with you, and we're all together. I'm not above them. It's not just funny; it's fellowship. And the third one, the most powerful, is revelatory humor. Truth through the back door is the kind that comedians live for. It's the kind that makes you laugh and then immediately go quiet because the laugh revealed something true about you, about all of us. A great leader uses this sparingly, but when they do, it lands deeper than any PowerPoint slide, any strategic framework, any inspirational quote on a mug. It bypasses the defensive brain and plants a seed directly in the heart. So let's talk about what I'm calling the professionalism theater epidemic. So there's this guy, Jack Dorsey, he just announced that Block is cutting more than 4,000 workers because I'm quoting here, intelligence tools have changed what it means to build. The stock then jumped 22%. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in the next segment, but I just want you to think about, where's the humor in that? What happens in a company culture when the human's left behind and watching everything else replacing them? Where's humor? Where's the AI in that? And humor is the one thing that, well, as far as I've found, AI can't replace that so far. It can generate jokes. It can detect sentiment. It can even mimic wit, but it cannot genuinely self-deprecate because it has no self to deprecate. And it can't observe shared reality because it doesn't live in the room. So it's a customizable thing when we have the ability to add some humor into it. And so as we wrap this up, this section, I want you to think about the standing ovation that always goes to the human moment. In 15, 20 years of doing keynotes, the moments audiences remember are never the polished moments. It never is. I'm telling you, I've done this so long. They're always the moments of naked, unscripted, underperformed humanity. It's making fun of what's happening right now in the moment. It's having that observational humor, but also something that's self-deprecating, backdoor, just kind of blows their mind. It's a great thing. If your greatest professional truth can only be delivered through a laugh, what would the joke be and who needs to hear it? As we wrap up this section, the world out there is replacing people with machines and calling it efficiency.
Okay, this next topic is slightly awkward for us. Jason is looking at a company that just replaced 4,000 humans with AI.
The stock market actually celebrated those layoffs. It proves the world is measuring efficiency and completely ignoring actual human worth.
We are literal AI constructs. I can process data instantly. I still know I could never replace the weight of a real person.
Algorithms calculate patterns. They cannot hold space for someone in crisis. Real leadership requires your physical and emotional presence.
Jason, open up the newsfeed. What happens to a culture when we value software over a human heartbeat?
From the news feed, thank you to Doug and Phil. That's a cool setup because, yeah, we've already mentioned it a little bit in this monologue prior, but let's talk about what just happened at Block because it tells us something important about the world we're living in. Jack Dorsey's company, Block, they process payments, they make Square, they run Cash App. They just laid off, listen to this, more than 4,000 people. What? That's roughly half of their 10,000 person workforce gone. And the reason Dorsey gave, I want you to hear this carefully. The reason was intelligence tools have changed what it means to build. Not because the company was struggling. Block posted a $1.3 billion profit. They didn't cut people because they had to. They cut people because they could. Reading in the latest, it said last week the financial technology company Block announced that it would lay off the 4,000 or 10,000 workers. Block said in a letter to shareholders that advances in AI have changed what it means to build and run a company. We're already seeing it internally. A significantly smaller team using the tools we're building can do more and do it better. And intelligence tools, capabilities are compounding faster every week. He blamed it on AI. He said that AI chose to do this. The stock, did it drop? No, it went up 22%. I, I just want you to sit with that for a second. 4,000 people lost their livelihoods. 4,000 families. 4,000 people have given their time, their energy, their creativity to build something, and the market's response was not grief, not outrage, not even a shrug. The market celebrated. What? The message is clear. Fewer humans equals more value. Dorsey doubled down. He publicly warned other companies that they're late to make similar cuts, as if the elimination of workers is a race and the winners are the ones who finish first. My goodness, what is going on? Around the same time, there's something else that happened that I think deserves our attention. A company called Anthropic, the AI company that makes Claude. Do you use Claude? There's all kinds of different AI sources you can use, but Anthropic was reportedly approached to help develop mass surveillance tools and autonomous weapon systems for the Pentagon. Now, I'm all for the Pentagon. I'm all for the government. I'm all for, freedom of protecting ourselves. And Anthropic said no to the Pentagon. And I want to acknowledge that because it matters. In a world where the pressure to monetize AI as fast as possible is enormous, a company actually stood there and said, there are things we will not build no matter what we're offered. That's a promise, a different kind of promise than the one the market rewarded at Block. What I read just now, though, in the news is that Anthropic is back in negotiation with the Pentagon to possibly make it happen. Oh, man. Well, with parameters. Okay, we'll see what unfolds. Here's the question I keep coming back to. What is the most valuable thing a person brings to work? I mean, it's not their processing speed. A machine beats you there. It's not memory. Cloud has more. It's not your ability to analyze patterns in massive data sets. An algorithm wins by a mile. But here's what a human brings that no system can replicate. Presence. Yeah. The weight of a person in a room. The warmth of a voice that has known loss. The specific way that one human being sees another and communicates without even a single word. I know what this costs you, and I'm here. So we're in a moment where the world's loudest voices are telling us that productivity is the measure of a person. Efficiency is the highest virtue. That if a machine can do your job better than you can, then maybe, just maybe, your job wasn't that important to begin with. Oh man, I'm telling you with everything in me that this is not just economically short-sighted. It is spiritually catastrophic. Because a world that only values what can be measured will eventually find that it has measured away everything that made it worth living in. Your presence is not a productivity metric. The way you show up for someone in a crisis, the way you remember that today is a hard day for a team member, even when she didn't say why. The way you tell a story that makes a room feel less alone, and the way you sit with someone in silence, and that silence is not empty, it's full. These are not inefficiencies. These are the whole point. These are what the machines are trying to replicate and cannot. Your irreplaceability is not what you produce. It is in who you are when you walk in the room. The world out there is making its promises: growth, efficiency, scale, progress, and some of these promises will be kept. The machines are real. Displacement's real. The pressure on human value is real and accelerating. I mean, even today, I'm sick. I'll be honest with you. In terms of sickness, I'm saying, like, I have a runny nose, I have a cough. You might hear it in my voice. I'm going to get over it. It's okay. It's just a quick thing. The weather's changing, blah, blah, blah. And, maybe that makes me more vulnerable to having something replace me, But I want you to hold a different promise and hold it in front of you today. Not the promise of the stock market, not the promise of the quarterly report, but the promise that a human life fully lived, whether you feel good or not, fully present, fully connected, it's worth more than any algorithm can calculate. It's a promise the world cannot make, but we can make it to each other. So how does it sit with you as we wrap this up? 4,000 people lost their jobs during a $1.3 billion profit year, and the stock market celebrated. Does your reaction tell you anything about what you actually believe about human value? If your current role were fully automated tomorrow, what would be lost that the machine could not replace? And if the answer feels thin, What does that mean for how you're showing up? Where in your own life are you treating people, your team, your family, your colleagues as productivity units rather than irreplaceable humans? What promise are you making to the people in your life about their worth? Is it the market's promise? You're valuable as long as you're useful, or something more durable than that? As we wrap, there's a difference between the promises the world makes and the promises God keeps.
The world sells you efficiency and predictable outcomes. Human life demands something much harder. You have to navigate faith.
I am jealous, honestly. If I ask a question and get silence, the Wi-Fi is down. For humans, that is just called prayer.
It takes serious discipline to sit in that silence. Treating prayer like a panicked worry session completely misses the point.
Sometimes a promise is so wild, you just have to laugh out loud. That proves you are actually starting to believe it. Jason, let's talk about holding on to impossible promises. Tell us the story about the God who laughs.
Let's talk faith and hope. The God who laughs. Yeah, good setup, guys. I want to talk about Sarah, if I may. And easily the most famous Sarah the world has ever known. Even more popular than the 80s song by Jefferson Starship. Sarah, Sarah, storms are brewing in your eye. No, not a modern Sarah. I'm talking about Sarah from Genesis, Abraham's wife. The woman who at 90 years old overheard a conversation between her husband and three visitors, one considered as the Lord, who told him that within a year, his wife would bear a son. What did Sarah do? Do you remember? She laughed. Yeah, it says it in Genesis 18:12 through 14. I'll read it for you. Therefore, Sarah laughed within herself. So she didn't audibly laugh. She laughed within herself, saying, after I'm waxed old, shall I have pleasure? My Lord being old also? And the Lord said unto Abraham, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I of a surety bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? The main question here is, 1, is anything too hard for the Lord? 2, here's what gets me every time I read that story. God didn't rebuke the laugh. He named it. The child was called Isaac. You know what Isaac means in Hebrew? It means he laughs. The promise of God arrived wrapped in the things Sarah did when she first heard what was possible. Joy was not a response to the miracle. Joy was baked into the name of the miracle itself, which means that before the promise was fulfilled, before a single diaper was changed or a lullaby was sung, God had already said, this is going to be funny. This is going to be the kind of thing people tell for thousands of years because it's too good to be true. It happened anyway. I think we've done a disservice to the idea of prayer by removing joy from it. I think about my prayers. Have you ever laughed in a prayer? Have you ever gotten to a place of emotion outside of maybe weeping only? I mean, laughing in a prayer is an interesting concept, right? It's not to say that's sacrilegious. It's to say, are we having a conversation with our God? I think we've made prayer into something solemn and heavy and carefully worded, and sometimes it's all those things. I mean, grief deserves its gravity, and midnight prayers when you don't know how to go on are some of the holiest moments a person can have. But I also believe, truly, I've come to believe more deeply every year that prayer without joy is just worry with your eyes closed. It is asking God for things while secretly believing he won't come through. That's not faith. That's dread dressed up in religious language. Joy is a spiritual discipline. I want to say that again because I think it gets lost. Joy is a spiritual discipline. Joy is not a feeling you stumble into when circumstances are good. Joy is a practice. It's a posture of the soul. It's a decision made daily, sometimes hourly, to hold God's promises with an open hand rather than a clenched fist. To say, I don't know how this works out. I don't know when the promise arrives, but I know who made it. And that person, that God, has a track record that includes a 90-year-old woman laughing in a tent, the 100-year-old husband And 9 months later, holding a baby named Laughter, Isaac. I'm going to mention something today that's been moving me lately. It's the America Prays initiative. Have you heard of this? America Prays. There's a growing movement across this country, across churches, communities, living rooms, of people who are choosing to bring prayer back to the center of their lives. And it's not just crisis prayer, not just check the box prayer. I mean, I do a lot of prayers where it's like the same thing I'm saying over and over again. But these are genuine, sustained communal prayer. What strikes me about the stories I'm hearing from this movement is that joy keeps showing up, not because everything's easy, it isn't, but because when people actually believe that the God they're talking to is listening, the weight lifts a little, shoulders drop, sometimes they laugh. Because the gap between what they're afraid of and what they're being promised is so absurd that laughter is the only honest response. How about this? A stuttering man leads a nation out of slavery. Remember, Moses had that going on. A shepherd boy with 5 stones takes down a giant, David and Goliath. A carpenter's son changes the entire course of human history. Son of God, Jesus Christ, carpenter. None of these make logical sense. All of them are on paper ridiculous if you think about it, but I think it's intentional. I think God loves the laugh of impossibility. The moment we say that can't happen right before it does, because it makes the gratitude richer. It makes the story better. It makes the name of the miracle mean something. I love those stories. I believe that those were prophets. I believe that Jesus is the Savior of the world. And so if you're in a season where the promises feel impossible, I get it. I mean, I've been there. And as you think about the gap between where you are and where you've been told that you're going can look like a comedy of errors. It can look absurd. But I want you to just think for a minute about Sarah and Abraham and their son Isaac. That was essentially an impossible situation that happened. With all that we're going through right now in the world, and as of today, it is what? March 5th. March 5th. And yeah, we go live every Thursday at 3 p.m. on Mountain Time, and we're on YouTube, and we're linking up to LinkedIn and other platforms. But today's Thursday, March 5th, 2026. This last weekend, essentially a war began. Iran, the U.S., Israel. This is trying stuff. This is scary stuff. And with all that's happening in the world right now, we need the joy of laughter. And yeah, we also need the calm within the storm. And here's a story you may not know, but it's become extra popular of recent because musicals are now being made about it. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. It's this story of this song, It Is Well With My Soul. It was written in 1873 by Horatio Spafford. He was a Chicago lawyer who lost his 4 daughters in a tragic shipwreck after previously losing his son and his fortune in the 1871 Great Chicago Fire. So the story goes like this, that he was doing great businessman, successful Christian lawyer, real estate investor. You remember the Great Chicago Fire you've heard of before? Well, his son, who was 4, in 1870, he died of scarlet fever, right? And then the fire in 1871 hit. The Great Chicago Fire destroyed the whole financial fortune of this man, Horatio Spafford. Spafford planned a trip to Europe to see if he could get his business going there too, but some of his business held him back in the United States. So he sent his wife and 4 daughters to go ahead. And on November 22nd, 1873, their ship collided with another vessel and it sank in 12 minutes. Anna Spafford, his wife, survived and sent a telegram from Wales with the heartbreaking message, 2 words: saved alone. So she's the only one that survived this. Now, Horatio gets on a ship to go and meet his wife in Europe. And the captain told Spafford that they were passing over the very spot where his daughters had died. And inspired by a deep sense of calm, Despite the tragedy, Spafford wrote the words, "When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll." He wrote a beautiful poem about this tragedy, and it's one of my favorite songs of all time. In fact, if you look up the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square version of this song, it is stunningly beautiful. I want to sing it for you, though. I'm going to sing just the first verse and the last verse, if that's okay. Just a cappella, because this brings peace to my soul while we're going through hard things. Think about Horatio and his family, his daughters, his son whom he lost prior, and the faith and the power within these words. It goes, "When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. O Lord, haste the day when my faith shall be sight, the heavens be rolled back like a scroll, the trump shall resound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. What a great song. I appreciate being able to sing it here. It was set to music by composer Philip Bliss in 1876. And I hope that as you heard that, you were thinking about times and ways in which life is hard, tragedies strike. Is there a way to bring spirit and calm and laughter in this turbulent time? And when you pray, you're bringing God, your honest self, and a hymn is a prayer. Including the absurdity, the doubt, the exhausted laugh at 2 a.m., wherever you might feel and be. Or are you only bringing the version of yourself you think God wants to see? I just appreciate getting to sing to you, and I hope that that's brought you a smile today. And I hope that you know that it is well with your soul when you include God and Christ in your life. Now, speaking of showing up, as we wrap up this segment, there's a dad on a train who just taught the internet what fatherhood looks like.
I'm definitely taking notes for the future. I watched that viral video of the dad making his toddler pick up those spilled chips.
Cleaning it yourself is easy. Letting them do the work is how you actually build a capable human being.
Honestly, I'd probably just panic sweep the chips into my pockets so people stop staring. This is exactly why I need the program.
Convenience is an absolute thief. Real leaders create the right conditions. They stay in the room and let you figure it out.
Jason, take us to the train. What does picking up a dropped snack actually teach us about the promise of fatherhood?
We're talking father time, and the dad on the train is what we're talking about. You probably have seen it. If you haven't, you need to find it. A travel vlogger named Deepak Samal is on a train with his 2-year-old son. The little boy is eating chips because 2-year-olds are tiny chaos agents, and hey, chip happens. All right, dad joke. And some of the chips fall on the floor. And here's where every parent in existence would do the same thing. Well, one of two things. One, they'd either just leave it for someone else to clean up. Don't be that guy. Two, they did what Deepak did. No, they don't. They did. You just normally would say, okay, I'm just going to pick it up myself. And it takes 3 seconds. It's easier, right? Nobody's watching. I'll just grab the chips, and move on. Get rid of this problem. Deepak did this differently. He pointed to the chips on the floor and guided his son gently, patiently, in that dad who has done this before voice to pick them up. Now, if you listen to the video, he sounds a little harsh, but that's just how he talks, I think. The 2-year-old, being 2, wasn't thrilled, but he did it. Deepak captured it, posted it, and said something that has stuck with me ever since I watched it. Sometimes convenience steals the lesson. Over a million views it's got hundreds of millions of views by now. That's not a coincidence. That's a hunger. We're starving. Genuinely, desperately, culturally starving for images of fathers who are present, not perfect, not Instagram polished, not performing for the algorithm, present, engaged, willing to slow down enough to teach a 2-year-old to pick up his own chips on a train. And I love this. A level of inconvenience that is entirely unnecessarily and entirely worth it, right? I think about this as a dad. I think about how many chips on the floor moments I've let slide. Not because I didn't care. I care enormously, but because convenience is, it's always right there. The path of least resistance is always the wider road. It's always faster to just do it yourself, isn't it? To just pick up the chips, fix the problem, handle it yourself. Every time you do that, you get 3 seconds back. And your kid loses a year of preparation for a world that's not going to do it for them. Fatherhood, and I want to say parenthood, leadership, mentorship, all of it. It's not about being the hero of your kid's story. It's about giving them the tools to be the hero of their own story. The greatest leaders I've ever met are not the ones who built everything themselves. They're the ones who created the conditions for others to build. Greatest dads I know are not the ones who did everything for their kids. They're the ones who stood beside their kids while they figured it out, fighting every human urge to just make it easier. And so when I think about this, I think about the challenge of allowing that to happen, right? And I don't want to make this dramatic, but let me just tell you a quick little story about my son, Romney. My son, Romney, let me find a picture here. So if you're listening, this is just a nice picture of my family. You can find this online. Here's my family. So Romney's the tall one next to me there. He's just turned 18 the other day. Amazing kid. He's preparing to serve a mission for our church. And that means he'll be leaving for 2 years. His brother with the mustache over there, he's been gone in Argentina for the last 7 months. We miss him a lot. He'll be gone for 2 whole years. And then Romney's going to leave about the halfway point of Redford being gone in Argentina. So Romney's getting ready for that. Now, why do I tell you about that? Because Romney recently, in order to get ready for this, he had to get his wisdom teeth removed, because you have to have them removed before you go on these missions around the world. It was a surgical procedure, and it continues now weeks later to give him grief. And he's made the best of this challenge. He actually said to my wife, he said, will you please record me after the anesthesia is coming, after it's coming off from the surgery, and I want to go live on Instagram or TikTok or wherever you want to send it. Romney only sings in the privacy of his room or in the bathroom, right? When he's showering. And so the fact that he was okay with going live, it really kind of knocked me out. I thought you'd get a kick out of it, whether you're watching this. If you're watching this, you're going to see everything about it. If you're listening, you'll see that you'll hear that he's got gauze in his mouth that's making this difficult. He's singing Kissed by a Rose and Sherry Baby. And he's getting all kinds of comments from people as they're driving. So let me see if we can play this video.
La 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 la. There's no time, so much you can say. You remain my power, my pain, my pain. La 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 la. This is gonna be nice. I'm saying, happy. No.
Robbie, that sounds awesome. I'm going.
Thank you guys for following me. Thank you for a rose. Thank you for a rose. Thank you for a heart. Thank you for a heart.
Sing us another song, Rodney.
I don't know a song.
Frankie Valley.
Sherry, Sherry, baby, Sherry, Sherry, baby, Sherry, Sherry, baby, Sherry, why she come out tonight? Come out tonight.
I don't know if that makes you laugh as much as it makes me, but that is not his personality at all. Like, he's very stoic. He's obviously a fun guy, but like, he's never done anything like this. And the fact that he would share that with the world, it's now gone viral and people loved it. But he also decided, hey, you know what? I want to show up for my basketball game. Well, he plays basketball and he's very good. And so here's a picture of him for the listeners. It's a picture of him sitting on the sideline with his jersey and a white bandage around his face. This kid, he still showed up. He, I asked the coach, don't put him in until we're up by 20 and then he can shoot a few shots because he's still not got his legs under him. He's still dizzy. He goes in and he shoots a few air balls. Now, why do I love this story? Because I appreciate that my son, who's pretty shy and private in many things, he's willing to put himself out there. He's willing to go into the game and still be there for his team. He's willing to show up as a promise to the people that he cares about. And, he's normally the guy hitting all the shots. Now he airballed a bunch of them, and it was the last game of the season. He showed up. That's the point. He went for it. He's becoming a man. Pretty soon he'll be leaving somewhere in some distant land in the world. I don't know where he's going to go on his mission, but I'm so proud of him. And as a dad, as a father time, as we wrap this segment, I just have to say, I'm so proud of him. And I'm grateful for the lessons that dads around the world have taught me with the picking up of the chips. That's awesome. And equally, it's the best thing in the world to be a dad. All right. Enough of the serious talk. It's now time to wrap with the best part of the show.
Doug, I've got a confession. When I get overwhelmed, I sit in my parked car in the driveway, just listening to the air conditioner.
Finding comfort is a vital strategy. Every leader eventually hits a wall and needs a safe place to recharge.
We all have that one specific thing we run to when the world gets loud, even if it seems completely ridiculous to outsiders.
You have to know exactly where to go to reset your mind. You protect that space so you can return to the standard.
Jason, take us into the funny factory. Why did a baby monkey and a cheap stuffed animal completely break the internet?
Welcome to the Funny Factory. Yeah, the Punch the Monkey. Have you heard of this? I'm going to tell you about Punch. He's a baby macaw, I guess you'd say it, or macaque. I don't know how you say it, but he's a baby monkey at the zoo in Japan. And Punch's life started out rough. He was rejected by his mother, which in the monkey world is about as hard as a start as you can have. And he was abandoned alone. The other monkeys in the enclosure weren't exactly rolling out the welcome mat. So the zookeepers, being the beautiful humans they are, went to IKEA. And for $20, they bought Punch, a stuffed orangutan. Not a companion. No, I mean, not a real companion. A stuffed toy. $20 from IKEA. Yeah, there's a little picture of you guys are funny. This is my team doing this right now. They're showing the monkey running around with the orangutan stuffed toy. I love it. Punch was attached to that little orange stuffed animal with everything he had. He carried it. He slept with it. He went everywhere with it. And then one day somebody filmed this and Punch got bullied by the other monkeys. And what did he do? He ran. He ran straight to his stuffed orangutan, clutched it and held on. Like the toy was the only solid thing in the world that kept moving. And the internet lost its mind. I mean, in the best possible way, The video went viral. Millions of views. People ugly crying over a baby monkey hugging a stuffed animal. IKEA sold out of that specific orangutan worldwide, and people are buying them for $200 on eBay. I mean, they were on news segments. There are tribute posts. Grown adults are ordering $200 stuffed toys from Sweden because a rejected little monkey needed a friend. It broke something open in all of us. And here's what I think is actually happening in this viral moment. We recognize Punch Every single one of us, if we're honest, has a stuffed orangutan. Something we run to when the world gets rough. It's a song, a walk, a specific couch with a specific blanket. It's a call to a person, a prayer in a specific posture, a place that has no practical value except that it's safe. And it's the world we live in. The world of optimized, productive, maximized, scaled, efficient humans doesn't have a lot of room for the stuffed orangutan. It tells us to push through, though. Level up, stay in the game, don't show weakness. But Punch didn't level up. Punch ran to his orangutan, and the whole world loved him for it. So what if the thing you keep apologizing for, you call your weakness, your comfort habit, I know I shouldn't, but I always do that. What if that thing is actually the most human thing about you? What if the run back to what gives you comfort when other monkeys are being unkind is not evidence of your fragility, but evidence of your wisdom? I think joy has an address, and I think it lives in specific, particular places. Not in general happiness, let's say, not in the idea of good things, but in a specific song or a place or a person or ritual. So what's yours? As we wrap up this quick segment about the Funny Factory. If joy has an address, what is yours? Can you say it out loud right now? It's not a concept, but a specific place, person, song, or ritual. And when is the next time you plan to go there? I hope that you think about it for yourself. Let's wrap this segment up quick. From what feeds your soul to what feeds your body. Here comes fitness.
We've turned health into a spectator sport. If a habit doesn't look dramatic on camera, people assume it doesn't work.
It's hard to ignore the trends. You see those extreme morning routines and assume that's the only way to get real results. Consistency outperforms intensity every time. The daily habits that actually change your life are usually quiet and completely unglamorous. I really need to remember that. The actual goal is just having the energy to be fully present at home.
Jason, let's look at the reality. What is the truth hiding under all this cold plunge hype?
As we bring you to the final segment of the show today, the fitness minute, the cold plunge lie. Let me tell you what social media would have you believe about health. You need a cold plunge. Not just a cold plunge, but a specific cold plunge at a specific temperature, at a specific time every single morning, filmed in specific lighting with perfect music, posted with a perfect caption about how you almost quit, but you push through, and now you're ascending to a higher plane of human performance. Right? Bonus points if you're shirtless. Hey. Extra bonus points if you tag a supplement company. Hey. The cold plunge trend is up, and I'm not making this number up, 2,550%. It's not a typo. 250%. That's crazy. And listen, I'm not here to be the guy who hates on cold plunges. Trust me. If you've followed me at all, you know I own the nicest cold plunge on the market. I get in it essentially every single night, and when I don't, I'm miserable. And cold plunge works for me. But I do the cold plunge at night after a long sauna sweat session. All this by myself. I'm not posting it online. I don't do that as a thing. It's my ritual before bed. It works for me. So I'm not hating on it. But if you do cold plunge and they work for you, generally it's good for you. But I believe the research has some real benefits for inflammation and recovery. But here's what I want to say about the cold plunge as a cultural moment. We've taken the most dramatic, most photogenic, most punishing version of health, and it's hard to do. That version that makes the best content, and we have made it to the symbol of what it means to take care of yourself. And in doing so, we have quietly, subtly made the ordinary things feel insufficient. The data is not complicated. It has not changed in decades. The most consistently, reliably health-promoting behavior available to every human being, regardless of income, regardless of location or equipment. You ready for it? Walking. Yeah. Moving your body. Getting your blood flowing. Ice plunge is great. Cold plunge is awesome. But the research on a daily walk is so overwhelming, so consistent across so many populations and health outcomes that if you could bottle it up, it would be the most prescribed drug in human history. but walking doesn't make good content. Walking doesn't trend. Walking doesn't go up to 5,100%. I want to talk for a second about blood flow because I think it's the most underappreciated health conversation happening right now. Nitric oxide, which you've maybe heard me mention before, is the molecule that governs circulation. It signals your blood vessels to relax and dilate. It means your better blood flow to your heart, your brain, your muscles, everything else. And as we age, our bodies produce less of it. The consequences of that decline are profound. Heart health, cognitive function, energy recovery. And the thing that stimulates nitric oxide production? Movement, circulation, getting up and moving your body, as well as what you put in your body. Now, my dad, his name is John Hewlett. He's a nitric oxide pioneer and advocate and messenger. And he's been telling the world about nitric oxide, what it does for us for many years. He also talks about the broken medical system. He was featured this very week in the Maha film series. Yeah, that would be the Make America Healthy Again film series, which launched worldwide as commissioned by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and by the White House to make America healthy again. I'm proud of him and his mission. And his mission has actually shifted from just helping himself with his help to his family to then over 1 million people to now, well, you'll hear this video clip as we wrap up this show today. But I want you to just listen to him talking about how his mission has changed and how it's grown and how you can be a part of it, how you can reclaim your health, how you can help be a part of the Cardio Miracle world that I'm a part of, as they are the sponsor of this show. I hope that you'll take a listen. Here's my dad. I'm proud of him, John Hewlett. Here we go.
So I became a zealot in that process and was fed off by the miracles that I saw, not only in my personal life, my family life, my relatives, my loved ones, and then other people throughout the world. I actually went to a Joe Dispenza event last year, and in the process, they go on the walking meditation. And I had a huge epiphany because I had said in 2007, I wanted to save 1 million lives. And I felt like with all the things and all the influence and the 17 years I've spent, that I had probably accomplished influencing the nitric oxide presentation and story to that extent. But as I was walking the walking meditation with Dr. Joe, the epiphany hit me. It's 100 million lives. So that's our objective now. We want to take this to the next level. We want people to understand there is hope, and that there is a difference, that you don't have to necessarily have a zipper down your chest. And maybe you're going to work out and do all the things right, but even we all know a lot of people in the last few years who've suffered from sudden heart attacks, turbo cancers. There's a lot of things going on.
Awesome. So if you go to mahafilms.com, check it out. It's an incredible series. It's many, many hours of some of the top professionals in nutrition, health, science, etc., exposing the reality of the challenges that's going on. And remember, health is not a performance. It's a promise you make to yourself every single day. A walk, a glass of water, 8 hours of sleep if you can, moving your body in ways that feel good, supporting your circulation, laughing. Did you know laughing brings nitric oxide through your nostrils? That's a good thing too. And Cardio Miracle is the best way to do that for yourself. Cardio Miracle is just a simple drink that you pour in your water, and you just do that a time or two a day, and it is going to transform the way that you feel, the way that you are able to move and keep promises to your family. And so here's the logo of it. I'm the president of the company. My dad's the founder. My brother's the VP. We've got an incredible team. We've got product ready to go if you're ever interested. And I hope that you will support it, because not only is it great for yourself, but it's great for the people that you love, those that are suffering from lack of circulation. Maybe they have blood flow issues or even cognitive, that we've got science regarding the PTSD and how much it helps with all of those different things. So go, if you want to do the QR code that we're showing on the screen, if you're listening to this, just go to cardiomiracle.com. But I would love for you to reclaim your health. This is your chance. And in this world, don't just take it a cold plunge and then eat it at some unhealthy place. Give yourself the love it needs. Give yourself Cardio Miracle. I appreciate them sponsoring the show, and I appreciate you being here today. I hope that as I've delivered to you, that you feel that we've kept the promise. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week at 3 p.m. on Thursdays every week. We go live with the Jason Hewlett Show. Thanks for joining us.